right, Americans in a little over 24 hours from now start heading to the polls, and what can we expect? What is likely to happen? Well, the CEO of BrandsEye is a company dedicated to helping businesses make insightful decisions informed by accurate, meaningful social, online, print, and broadcast media data. They've spent quite a bit of time analyzing what's going to happen. JP Kloppers on the line with us now from the United Kingdom. Very good morning to you, sir. Thanks so much for joining us on Hard Breakfast.
Great, thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. So listen, have we seen any major shifts? There have been loads of controversies involving both candidates up until a couple of days ago. The most recent one, of course, involving another email scandal hanging over Hillary Clinton. To what extent is that likely to sway public opinion?
So we've been tracking the sentiments on social media, and the email saga was a big deal. I think it compared to all the things that people accuse Trump of, you wouldn't be remiss in saying it looks relatively small, but for Americans it was a big deal. I think people spoke about it a lot, and it almost gave a lot of license for people who hadn't entered a conversation before to suddenly start talking about their views, and they came out in strong support of Trump. So it caused a big shift, and it's somewhat tailored in the last week, or tempered if you at least come back a bit. But we're still seeing on social media Trump ahead in 10 of the 11 swing states. Just people talking about him and backing him and advocating for him or criticizing Clinton.
All right, interesting, and I'm listening. You obviously analyze what happens on social media. To what extent is that an accurate precursor of what is going to play itself out? And I asked the question knowing that you did the same thing with Brexit, and you successfully called that before the vote was in. So how do you then correlate what happens online socially to what actually plays itself out in the real world?
Yeah, look, I must be honest, we're pretty nervous putting these kinds of stats out because it is very counterintuitive, and it was the same with Brexit. And I think what social media points to is kind of the volume and the intensity of emotion of what people are feeling. So even with Brexit, we called, I think, 56.5% of people voting leave, and it ended up being 51.5%. So it wasn't far off, but it was an exaggeration of which direction the surprise went. And we're seeing that just in a much more pronounced fashion in what's happening in America right now. Down in each of these critical swing states, that exaggeration is even more pronounced. So how similar it is to Brexit, we keep racking our brains to think, are we going to see the same thing again? And if all things being equal and the data is looking the same, then yes. But there are a few key differences with the U.S. The one is that it's kind of voter registration. Only 70% of U.S. people who are eligible to vote are registered to vote, and then of that, not everybody turns out. So are some of the voices that we're seeing on social media people who can't actually vote?
Yeah.
That's a big question mark. Could be. And then also, who is not in the conversation? So obviously the Hispanic vote is a big kind of category in the U.S., and we're not seeing a lot of that in the data that we're tracking at the moment out of the U.S. So that could play a pivotal role, and we know they're more aligned to the Clinton campaign, to the Trump campaign. So that could play a role. But if it was just purely based on what we're seeing, then yes, we're in for a surprise. But I think the U.S. is more complex than what we saw in the U.K.
Yeah, I've heard a number of analysts say that this is one of the few elections, perhaps the most recent of the modern ones anyhow, where it's not so much about which candidate you like more, it's about which one you dislike the least. Is that showing up on the social media trends as well?
Definitely. I mean, it's probably, for every two people that support Trump, there'll be another one or two who are against Clinton. So it's almost as marked as that. It's very much about, who do we vote for? And we've even gotten emails from people in the U.S. saying who should we vote for, which is a bizarre thing to happen. But I think people are saying we don't like either.
Yeah.
Do we not vote, or do we vote for the person we vote the least? And I think if that's going to hurt anyone, it's probably going to hurt Clinton more, that sentiment of people saying, of abdicating and saying, look, let's just not get involved this time, and kind of throw caution to the wind. At least we then didn't play a role in who we chose, because either people see either one as a bad option. But that I think, if that sentiment propagates through, then what we're seeing on social media is going to play out.
Yeah.
Those people aren't the Trump supporters, who are in that category.
All right, 36 hours away, I think, from going to the polls. Call it for me, if you don't mind, JP. Who's going to win it?
Well, based on what social media says,
yeah.
And this is not our opinion, just the data, it looks like Trump will win it. If social media was right, and I really hope it's not.
Yeah, heaven help us. All right, you have a good one, mate. Thanks so much for chatting.
Okay. Good.
Done deal. There we go. A company called BrandsEye. It's the CEO, JP Kloppers, joining us on the line from London.